Nanima, this morning when we arrived, I was asking what time the function would start, and we were told it would be starting at 10 o'clock. No, we were supposed to start at 10 o'clock, but we may be a little late because the president will turn up at 11. The president has the tendency of being late. So I'm going to ask for your permission so we can invite him to the military academy. Yes, and drill some military time into his blood. Yesterday, when the function was going on at the State House and my Ever people were dancing, he said now he can see why we don't have any back pains. When I see his people doing the waist ones, I can see why they won't have any waist pain. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Nani Man, Nana Achampehene, representing the Honorable Osei Tutu, Otumfuo. Let me correct a mistake some of my colleagues have made. Nana, incidentally, also holds 2 doctorate degrees. So my dear beloved Dr. Nana Ajaman Rawlings, my colleague ministers of state, honorable lecturers of the various faculties, your excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think I prefer the lady. I prefer the lady. I mean, this little warm too you want to enjoy. Thank you. The beacon of hope, my beloved brothers and sisters, in Africa is gradually but surely beginning to whisper the vision espoused by our forebearers that soon Africa will rediscover its own pathways for democracy and sustainable development. As we gather here today to celebrate the early signs of a vision for rural transformation that has been exemplified by one small rural university, let me salute the pioneering efforts of the University for Development Studies in convening this special congregation with an impressive array of prominent personalities, including ordinary people from several rural communities throughout the country. As they say, better late than never. I first heard of this honorary degree in 2000, and it has taken nearly 14 years for this occasion to come to fruition. My purpose for starting with this reference is that seeking justice and speaking for it is a long, drawn-out struggle. For others, they get it on a silver platter. This very university has decided to award honorary degrees to many people, and within 2 to 3 months they are invited. The ceremony occurs, and out they go, honored, done, they are knighted. For Rawlings, it's taken 14 years. We never gave up. The good news is we are here, and thanks to the ordinary people of this country and the courage and perseverance of some men and women of honor and of integrity who founded and are nurturing the dream of this university. Their names and memories will forever be immortalized. There are too many to count here. As an eternal servant of the people of Ghana, I'd like to offer a few reflections on the subject of leadership for sustainable development under Ghana's transition to democracy. From the point of view of a practitioner who lives and swears by the people whose interests are paramount and whose leadership is relevant. Let me first ask a rhetorical question. What is the meaning of democracy for our people? My more learned colleagues have described democracy as rule of the people, by the people, for the people. In Ghana, we started initially with a negotiated process and credit our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, as a skillful negotiator who set out a path of our independence from a neo-colonial perspective. We became independent from colonial rule, began an accelerated development agenda, and started to build the infrastructure of our sovereignty. Successful as we were then, the very contradictions in our own internal arrangements were later to consume and derail the vision of Nkrumah. What were these contradictions? A hierarchy of self-seeking individuals, both in government, within the ruling party, in partnership with cronies in the private sector, had arrogated the power and the wealth of the nation unto themselves. The opposition then had very similar interest with the emerging ruling class, a bubble group, in fact, that felt their right to the wealth of the nation was stolen by less wealthy individuals or politicians. Ordinary citizens on whose backs and with whose aspirations the independence project was based soon found themselves as passive onlookers. Despondency set in, others capitalized on the mounting frustrations, and the rest of what happened is well documented by our more learned political historians. Mr. Chairman, let me not speak for or about others. I was told to speak more about a journey that I have been part of, a journey demanded by ordinary people of this country and traveled by them. I believe that it is partly the result of my participation in this journey that I've been deemed worthy of an honorary degree today. Mr. Chairman, if indeed democracy is rule of the people, by the people and for the people, then I'll start in 1979 when we witnessed a spontaneous demand for the reconstruction of democracy by the ordinary people of this country, led by those in unity. Initially, we all assumed that this was merely a call for reforms in the military, an institution whose honor and dignity had been woefully compromised by the attractions of material gain. We interpreted this demand as simply one to restore a constitutional order, conduct elections, and establish a civilian government. Under my stewardship, we responded diligently, cleaning the armed forces and returned its dignity at a very painful cost. Next, we organized and supervised a return to civilian constitutional rule, giving renewed confidence to ordinary people that their voices can be heard and their efforts for change can materialize. We did all these in a record time of 3 months, and I thought, this is it. The journey to democracy is done. But, and a big but, how wrong we were. It did not take long before the wrath of the people erupted further into a more profound demand for a broader and more fundamental revolution, to realign institutions of state with the broader aspirations of people, ordinary people. Then we embarked on part 2 of our real and long journey to establish the foundations of genuine democracy and development for our people and for posterity. fellow countrymen and women, let me describe a rather layman's view of the essential elements of a people and development-centered democratic transition. People's social and economic well-being are essential for democracy. And starting in 1982, and amidst some of the most difficult times, we embarked on a massive restoration of the economy in a manner that our people are engaged to lead their own development. We introduced programs that were sensitive to the needs of ordinary citizens, even as we had to undertake painful measures to restore economic sanity. Ladies and gentlemen, we facilitated a rapid mobilization of our people, especially women and the youth, to work as well as to understand and uphold their rights to participate and make decisions that affect their lives and their livelihoods. Every hamlet, village, town, and city was affected. Every community in this country was organized into committees promoting, protecting, and defending people's fundamental human and social rights. And there is abundant evidence of these. Ladies and gentlemen, institutions of democracy must start, if it has to last, from the bottom and not from the top. And following that, we proceeded by 1988 to crystallize these broad-based people's movements and energies into the first really profound strategy for decentralization after 5 years of active mobilization and mass education. So by the time district assembly elections occurred in 1988, people knew why they were going to vote and who they were going to vote for to represent them. They also understood practically that they were creating a form of government for themselves to be presided over by themselves, whose primary purpose is to set and execute the development agenda that is locally based and appropriate for their needs and aspirations of the people. All these were done by the people themselves even before a new constitution was written or adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, today we all celebrate Ghana as a pioneer in sustaining the return to constitutional rule in 1993, and yet not many in this country seem to understand the painful efforts behind this stability and the associated international credit accorded to Ghana. As I mentioned, with just one example of people's leadership, of their own aspirations espoused in our version of decentralization, a real constitution must incorporate the capabilities, the capacities, and institutions constructed by people themselves. The new constitution is not perfect, but it is one which recognizes some of the basic tenets of the demands and the struggle by the ordinary people for a just society. Many institutions were introduced in that constitution to prevent the abuse of power, to prevent corruption, and to promote the social and economic rights of citizens, including a more instructive directive principles of state policy, in which the state is enjoined to take the necessary steps to establish a sound and healthy economy through the undertaking of even and balanced development of all regions and improvement of conditions of life in the rural areas. What kind of leadership can cause a people-centered transformation and promote sustainable development? Education that is relevant to people's needs. True democracy cannot exist in a vacuum. It must be accompanied by systems that make democracy relevant to people's needs. I've come to understand and believe that the University for Development Studies is an innovative community of learning designed to energize, empower, and engage rural communities and youth into driving their development. This university has therefore been designed in such a manner that it affords the students the opportunity to spend 1 year out of 4 years in the communities through the third trimester community learning effort. They stay in villages under the supervision of their professors, eating with community members, drinking their water, and learning their stories of life's struggles. University students become real learners from their less privileged elders, yet they benefit from the richness of village history and culture. In turn, they start developing solutions that are relevant to the real needs and aspirations of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, the structure of UDS is also unique. You are the only university with campuses in all 3 regions of northern Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, I applaud this vision of UDS and urge the promoters of this effort to be mindful of the following. 1, to be true to the community spirit and ensure that every effort is made to maintain the voices, perspectives, and rights of the community throughout your journey. I have seen it happen so many times where the name of the community is taken for granted, put aside against powerful stakeholders. The voices and perspectives of the community soon get drowned and sometimes lost, and the powerful speak for the community. Please maintain vigilance in ensuring that the views of ordinary citizens find expression in your 4-year program. Watch carefully the dancing steps of the community members. Listen carefully to their songs. Therein lies the expressions of the truth and sometimes the deep critique of their leaders. It is often said that the king who does not listen carefully to the songs of the village may dance to the tunes of his own destruction. All too often, university degrees can be presented as ends in themselves, as opposed to being a means to an end. As students of development, you must use your degree for transformation, not for promotion. I understand graduates from UDS are sought after by many district assemblies. Thank God most of your graduates are not among the visa queues you see trying to escape from the country after they've been trained with taxpayers' money. The preservation and use of data collected from the communities for district and national development as well as a task. Much of the evidence the students collect will need to be also channeled into national, district, and local statistics to enable us all benefit from the hard work of the students. A complex center is needed in UDS to promote this huge and invaluable asset. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, my fellow countrymen and women, Ghana is plagued by a crippling ostrich mentality. Somehow, everyone knows what goes on, but no one seems ready to admit that there is a problem. In fact, the one who admits there is a problem is often ridiculed by his peers. How many of us in this room have developed the capacity to admit that there is corruption in our local government system, or in the heart of government, or even in the university? Why is our capacity to speak the truth so poor that we let wrong pass unchallenged? The reason is simple. Perpetuating anti-development tendencies enhances the get-rich-quick attitude of the greedy ones. Those of us who have access to power and privilege tend to exploit this situation. Ladies and gentlemen, admitting that there is a problem might expose the pathways for illegal wealth and the oppression of the people. And they seem to have a problem. On my own, I have tried extremely hard to confront this ostrich mentality by speaking up when the problem is occurring, not after it has occurred. And I know the price I paid for it not too long ago. But what is important is to remain true to myself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not an easy task. It is a crusade that must be embarked upon. Speak up, admit when problems are occurring, so that as a society, we can expose the cancer of corruption and apply heavy doses of chemotherapy to eliminate all the cancerous cells in our society and body politics. We speak zero tolerance, it's not enough. It's been there since time immemorial, and do nothing about it. And we pinch our skin. I don't know where that philosophy came from, to remind ourselves about what to avoid. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to show a little more sensitivity. Democracy and development with justice is what I want to talk about next. But prior to that, let me share a very interesting observation with you. A social observer recently said to me, not too long ago, that our president, John Mahama, is a president for the future. When democratic institutions and behavior will be like what you will find in some of the advanced countries like Switzerland, like Norway, etc. Do you understand what they're trying to say? Well, if you can't, I can see it. His nature, his style is such that he could easily be a president in some of those countries. And I believe, and what the person is trying to say, is that some things are wrong in this country that may be better someday, when the person was saying he thinks he will be the appropriate president. That's what the person was trying to say. In other words, is there something about the style of the president which is inappropriate, or which appears to be inappropriate for Africa? Is there something about the gentle style of the president which is inappropriate for an opportunistic society like ours? Mutiasi. In other words, when he's also talking about corruption and asking for assistance, he's told the Council of State people, don't keep anything from me, tell me. I ask myself if the Council of State members are even aware of the reality, and will they tell it to him? He wants to know, he wants to correct it. I know this man. Both the good and the bad hang around him. He's unable to kick the bad ones away. And I guess it's because he doesn't know about some of them and their nature. No. African politics, you can't do it like that. Our president, this president sometimes joins his car personally to go and see his dentist. I know it. He doesn't know I know it. Today I'm saying it. He drives himself. Now he won't do it again since I've made it known. And I think it's important that we do something about this issue of greed and this issue of opportunistic tendencies. My people, my brothers, I love this country intensely, you know. And I love the people of this country intensely. But I want to respect my people a little more. Loving my people is not enough. I want to be able to respect my people a little more. I'm not finished. And now you listen to me. What happened in this country on August of 29th? About 2 months ago, right? August 29th. I was going to the US. I had to cancel it and come back to Ghana because a ruling was going to be made. You listen. The great news of the 29th of August, after 8 months of that grueling trial, was the judgment in favor of the respondents. Great. But the greater news, the greater news, in my opinion, was how President Mahama and his supporters, and Nana Akufo-Addo and his supporters comported themselves during the proceedings and after the ruling. We must respect both sides for such statesmanly conduct. I said the great news was the ruling. The greater one was how the two conducted themselves. Do you want to know the greatest news? The greatest news? Yeah, there was something greater than those two. The greatest news, fellow countrymen, was the manner in which the presiding judge, Justice William Atumba, conducted the entire proceedings, most especially when he asserted the authority of the judiciary over offensive characters who have always thought that they could run roughshod over this country. People who have shown nothing but absolute disrespect and persistently keep insulting the intelligence and wisdom of the people of this country. He reined them in. Listen, Justice Atukuba laid before this country the integrity of sacred values and the integrity of his own personal lifestyle. When somebody was suggesting, on account of this work you're doing, shouldn't you be riding a car with bodyguards? And he said, what for? I've been walking all these years. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the man I wish to celebrate today with. I want the country to hear me. This is the man I want to celebrate today with. There is no doubt that there are many judges of similar character who deserve our respect. There are also judges of questionable integrity. If the judiciary does not utilize the current political climate in our nation's history to continue to free itself of the political controls that have existed in the past, a fine opportunity would have been lost. They know what's been going on. They know the atmosphere they're enjoying now. Will they utilize it to free themselves? Ladies and gentlemen, just when this country appeared to be at the brink of anarchy. Are you coming back, Chief? he has to come back. Ladies and gentlemen, just when this country appeared to be at the brink of anarchy, the tension that was created, the distortions using the media about what was going on during the trial, and the massive tension that it was creating, it was almost as if we were coming close to some explosion. The Supreme Court, under the able leadership of Her Lordship, the Chief Justice, and the resolve of this chairman of the panel hearing the MPP election petition, Justice Atukuba, order and sanity were restored. Reckless talk was replaced with cowardly silence. Logic and humility then prevailed. As if to say, they're raping this country enough of our resources. And as if that injury was not bad enough. They have to go to the extent of now wanting to also insult our judicial consciousness. No. Atukuba fixed them. Mr. Chairman, at the heart, at the heart of every country's development is quality education. Education that not only imparts knowledge to our youth, but is also expected to imbue in them a high sense of morality and integrity. We live in times when morality and integrity are in short supply and I charge the university authorities, student leadership, students, and the various communities associated with the university to strive to uphold the highest standards of truth and integrity as a cornerstone of the quest for academic knowledge. Hello, countrymen and women. Mr. President, are you with me? Fellow countrymen and women, Ghana needs strong men and women of integrity in all sectors of its society if we are to successfully combat corruption and indiscipline. The great Justice Atuguba's brand of leadership on the bench helped to restore some of the image the judiciary had lost over the years. His ability to stamp his authority and expose the indiscipline that some of the parties in the case were exhibiting served as a greater compliment to all the peace initiatives that we all lent a hand to. Right? We saw it. Just those few words of his, stern words, appropriately spoken, did so much that this country needed to sit up. And of course, the power to sentence. The dedication and integrity of Justice Atuguba is the kind of ideal that June 4th and December 31st stood for. Yes. It is unfortunate that rather than celebrate and discuss this man's forthrightness and sense of discipline, media commentators and contributors and their controllers, so steeped in their petty political mindedness, could not bring themselves to see or recognize a role model, a germ of a man. This is sinful. When you see such purity, such beauty, and you cannot recognize it, something is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, Justice Atuguba is the man of the last decade. He is, to me, the man of the last decade. And this has nothing to do with the direction of his vote at the end of the court proceedings. It has nothing to do with the judgment in favor of the NDC. My respect for him has to do with his fearlessness and capacity to confront the obvious without inhibitions. He dealt with the weaknesses that both the major parties and most of the other parties suffer from. Yes, he didn't favor any one of them, because there is a bottom line that a society must maintain, that you must not cross. We've crossed it over and over. We have the money, we have the media, and we use it to destroy values, human sensitivity. Ladies and gentlemen, the search for a positive ideal, as exhibited by Justice Atuguba, a true citizen of this land, is what academic pursuit is all about. At the end of the day, if you do possess the requisite qualification, and you cannot serve humanity if you lack a high sense of idealism and sound moral values like truth and justice, then we have a problem. all your academic brain and laurels, if it is not driven through the purity and the engine of a sense of idealism, through discipline and integrity, I'm sorry, you will become a liability. We need, and we are there, you are there. But somehow we are allowing only a handful of characters from time immemorial who recycle themselves and come back again and are just, harassing our lives. The journey for an independent, incorruptible judiciary has only just begun. We know and hear of massive corruption also in the judiciary, in lower courts and in commercial courts. Millions of dollars are lost each year due to dubious judgment debts. Cases are settled, many times with influence of bribes. Sometimes national security is compromised by corrupt court rulings. Sometimes crooks can even cause illegal detention of foreign sovereign assets because some judge gave restraining orders. I entreat the Chief Justice and the entire judiciary to reflect soberly on these developments and vindicate the judiciary. Build on your newly established credibility and independence by engaging in a thorough house-cleaning exercise to purge the judiciary of real and perceived corruption. I can help you with this exercise because I'm qualified and experienced in house cleaning. I don't think they'll accept me. Hello, do you speak to me? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me finish it up. If the poor citizens of this country are to trust that the justice system is for them, and to have faith and trust, and by extension in government, then this justice must not be for sale to the highest bidder in bribes and corrupt practices. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as Ghana moves through this difficult transition to the age of sustainable and equitable development, how many of us in this room will be counted as part of the inspirational leadership that influenced this journey? And how many of us, on the other hand, will be counted as the hidden or disguised enemies of the people? I am certain that the University for Development Studies will also be counted as one of the institutions which have been true to the commitment of a people-centered development agency. This is why I am proud to be the latest alumni of UDS. Proud to be honored by you and honored to join your peer group. I am also ready to intensify my role as an ambassador for UDS as I have been promoter from the very beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, special gratitude goes to all who helped to champion the establishment of this university. I cannot mention everyone, but people like Nathan Kwao, Shelley Ababio of blessed memory, Dr. Abubakar, who traversed the region to identify abandoned and dilapidated buildings for rehabilitation into university structures, Valerie Saki, Professor Benning and his colleagues, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, There are those who've also contributed towards this humble gathering in various ways. People I cannot name yet, but I also want to say a big thank you to them. At the appropriate time, we will name them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an obligation to ensure that what these people have toiled for some 20 years ago impacts positively on our society for generations to come. To all those individuals and institutions who have in diverse ways contributed, as I said, towards the successful organization of this event, I say, Ayeko. How do you say it in your language? Yituma. I know Yituma, there must be another one. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say a big thank you to all of you for making this event so rich, and especially with the President, also with us, Honorable Chiefs, the Asantini sending Apiadima, Nana Achampini. His father was the late King of the Ashantis. Yes, the lawyer. And all the elders who've joined us here. You make me feel so warm, even though I would have wished I were staying here so we could share some thoughts about the old days. I cannot do so, not tonight. I will have to go back to Accra and prepare to leave for South Africa, where you can't believe it. They're giving us another huge award, a certain university. Yeah. I'm glad with that award, it's only Mandela, Castro, I think SABC. Can you name the rest? Oh yes, honorable ones. Because sometimes, to be quite honest, I have a problem. You know, I almost had a problem with this one, you know. Because you must be honoring people with a high sense of discipline and integrity. I mean, if people want to contribute money, let them and put their name somewhere on a board or on a block. You know? But don't take them through this kind of procedure. Because you want to maintain the idealism of an academic institution, the purity of it. That is what the whole academic, you know, the strength of any academic exercise lies in truth. And we keep saying that, or was it Mahatma Gandhi who said he was looking for truth in God, only to realize that God was rather in the truth. Yes. Because it's that kind of truth which is scientifically, which is empirical, which takes you places. It is that kind of truth which makes you do wonders as a surgeon on human body. It is that kind of truth that makes you make complex calculations. It is that kind of truth that takes you to the moon and back, that makes you fly and come down. The scientific truth, the technological truth, not falsehood. The people who let's avoid them. Let's push them where they belong. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I must say a big thank you once again. And I hope we'll meet another time. Thank you.